Israel-Iran war news now. The boundaries of the Biden-Netanyahu conflict. After Benjamin Netanyahu and his war cabinet disregarded Washington's demands that they not invade Rafah, U.S. President Joe Biden decided to withhold advanced weapons to Israel. I am still confused about the consequences of this decision. I am not implying anything personal when I remark that I do not believe President Biden has toughened up after becoming increasingly frustrated with Israel's flagrant disdain for American interests. Because of his stubbornness and hubris, Netanyahu has continued the genocide and displacement to the very border of the Gaza Strip. I know firsthand the kind of government that Biden runs, which is why I say this. In my opinion, the Democratic and Republican parties are both swayed by the influence and money of the Israeli lobby. My conclusion is that, since the beginning of this displacement war, the White House has probably gotten advice from a number of important administration leaders defending Israel's actions. As far as I'm concerned, they have made it clear to Biden that he is dealing with a powerful entity. Since it controls both houses of Congress to an almost unprecedented degree, it would be insane to oppose or even criticize it in the year of a presidential election. Like many others, I have also heard and read about Netanyahu's latest statement. In his characteristic haughty manner, he argued that the decision to halt weaponry shipments would have little effect and hence disputed it. Standing alone is something we are willing to do if necessary. We will fight with our fingernails if we have to, he threatened. A seasoned conservative right-wing hawk named John Bolton also told us that Joe Biden's choice to halt military shipments would cost him the White House in November. Based on my analysis, it appears that the American president may have been influenced by a number of things to adopt this position at this moment, which, in my opinion, will not make a difference. The first is that Republican politicians are eager to outbid him. President Biden may wax lyrical in his favor of Israel, but Republican Party leaders like Donald Trump will never back down from outbidding him. It is clear from Trump's policies, which mirror Likud's aspirations throughout his presidency, and from remarks made by the previous president and a number of those hoping to collaborate with him, or succeed him in November, that this is the case. The second factor that has disrupted the status quo is the student rebellions that have taken place on college campuses across the United States. Thanks to the constant, hourly streaming of images of massacres and horrific devastation reaching every home in the West and the United States, this intifada has successfully disrupted the Israeli narrative that had long dominated the political arena. Thirdly, since October, the far-right Israeli group has repeated racist, inflammatory, and confrontational rhetoric. No reasonable or impartial observer has dared to speak out against the extreme ministers Itamar Ben-Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich or the fervent settler leaders because of their offensive remarks. This has hurt many people in the West, especially in Europe and the United States, who aren't going to believe the propaganda and psychological warfare that Israel has been using to support the falsehood of Israel's right to protect itself. Some of the groups Israel controls are branches of important political parties and news outlets, and the country has entrusted them with its defense. At last, we have Middle Eastern and Arab regional factors to consider. Here, onlookers notice a clear case of bias between two friends. In this delicate area, the superpower, the United States, has complex considerations, friendships, and animosities. The geopolitical reality that Russia has shaped in the Black Sea and the Caucasus Mountains, as well as the spread of Chinese and Indian interests across the Middle East, have further complicated its calculations. Israeli officials are highly influential in American politics and policy, and the Jewish state is unconcerned about harming U.S. interests in its dealings with neighboring Arab states, Turkey, and Iran. Instead, Israel plans to target all of its neighbors and regional rivals once it has a monopoly on having a special relationship with Washington. Whatever the case may be, the current situation unquestionably poses concerns. A complete vision for this region, which has one map now but could wake up to another tomorrow, may not be possible to wait for the ideal circumstances because situations in the Middle East have gotten so severe. In many countries in this area, contemporary statehood and civil society have crumbled, and issues have grown interwoven, conflicts have broken out, and errors have accumulated. It is possible that not even the religious nationalists, opportunists, and militarists on Israel's political right have fully grasped the consequences of destroying all hope for peace and future prospects. On top of that, Western countries have issues that they don't always dare to admit. Partisan life's demise, the rise of racial and religious fanaticism, and the loss of faith among young people in the political establishment could all come to light during the U.S. presidential election in November. Some Western European countries are in an even more precarious position. The migrant crisis, which stoked the fires of neo-fascism and the violent right in a number of democracies, is just one of several local and continental reasons that explain this phenomenon. In fact, the ruling consensus parties are now facing unprecedented opposition from neo-fascists, who have emerged as the sole viable alternative. Not to mention the integrity of the European Union's foreign connections, they endanger the bloc's very character and shared interests. Russia, the old new obsession, comes in last. If a reassured Russia isn't bad for Europe, I don't know what is. And that is the Russia that is under assault and feels singled out.